Resistance versus chance. Throne Liberty has a ton of crowd control skills, making it crucial to understand how resistance and chance actually work. You might be also wondering how much do I need, and more specifically, how much do I need to counter those annoying tornadoes. In this video I will explain everything you need to know, but as always, let's start with the basics. How does resistance and chance actually work? In TL there are 8 different resistances and chances that correspond to a specific skill category. Every CC skill in the game falls into one of these categories. To see which category a skill falls into, you can simply check the skill description of the skill. For example, the skill Strategic Rush from the SNS is labeled as a collision skill. Therefore, only collision chance and resistance are relevant for this skill. But what do resistance and chance actually do? So every CC skill has a base chance to land, whether it's a weaken, collision or a sleep ability. For instance, our precision dash has a 70% base chance to push your enemy away. This is always shown in the skill description. And resistance and chance modify the base chance. If you stack collision chance, you can increase the likelihood of you pushing your enemy. And if your enemy stacks collision resistance, he can reduce the chance of you pushing him away. Resistance and chance always impact the base chance of this skill. Okay, so how does that work? The game always compares your chance against your enemy resistance. If your chance is higher, you will increase your base chance. And if their resistance is higher, they will reduce your base chance. Important here, this system is completely independent of evasion and hit. If you're unsure how evasion works, feel free to check out my video for that. Okay, so we understood the basics, but how effective is it to build resistance and chance? Let's take again our example Strategic Rush, which has a 70% base chance to push someone back. Let's first have a look by how much we can reduce the chance of our enemy to hit the skill. So that would mean you have more resistance than your enemy chance. In this table you can see that for every 100 points we have more collision resistance than our opponent collision chance, we decrease their chance to push us away. And you can actually see that it has a huge effect early on. Of course, we have diminishing returns here if you stack too much, but with 300 difference we already reduce this chance to push us to around 30%, which is actually really good. On the flip side, if you have more chance than your enemy resistance, you can increase your base chance to land the skill. In this table you can see how we can slowly increase our base chance if we have more chance than our enemy resistance. Again, there are of course diminishing returns, but for example if you have 300 more chance, you would increase your chance to push your enemy by around 16%. Okay, so these tables are dependent on the base chance of the skill. I have also created you here the tables for 80% and 90%. Well, these tables are really nice and helpful, but let me give you some tips on how to use those tables. Okay, so the question is, how much resistance or chance do you need? First, let's take a general look on this question across all skill types. To understand this, you need to know how much resistance or chance players typically have. In PvP, most players usually have around 60 to 70 perception, which gives them 300 to 450 chance for all CC effects. So you just gain this passively. They might even build more, but this is what they always have. But resistance works differently. There is no easy way to passively gain it. You must actively integrate resistance into your build. For example, let's say we want to reduce the hit probability of a skill with a 70% chance down to 30%. Looking at the resistance table, we can see that achieving this requires 300 more resistance than the opponent's chance value. That means you would need between 600 and 750 resistance. And this comes at a significant cost, because stacking that much resistance requires trade-offs in other areas. This is always the case in Throne of Liberty. It's all about trade-offs. You want to be tanky against bow players? Maybe that means you will be squishy against melees. So before you're committing to it, you should be certain that it's necessary for your build. If you are struggling with a specific CC skill, start by understanding how much chance your opponent has and what the base chance of the skill is. If you're unsure about your enemy's chance or resistance values in tier 2, you can check various tier 2 builds on Questlog to get a rough idea what to expect. Of course the meta will change, but it will give you at least an idea. Then use my resistance tables and calculate how much additional resistance you need to bring it down to a more manageable level. And then ask yourself, what do I sacrifice for it? Is it worth it? So working with these tables works for most skills in the game, except tornadoes. They are a little bit special, so let's take a closer look. The tornado skill has a base chance of 70% per hit, so the same as strategic rush, right? The problem is that the tornado always hits you 3 times and each hit has a chance to knock you up. From what I know, most bow builds will still have only 70 perception in tier 2, which gives them 450 collision chance. Based on that, let me give you an idea what that means. Let's say you have 750 collision resistance, so you would have 300 more resistance than your enemy chance. This means the skill has a 32% chance to knock you up per hit. But since the tornado hits you 3 times, you still get knocked up around 70% of the time. If you increase your collision resistance to 850, so 400 more resistance, the probability of being knocked up is still 61%. I have also made you here a table to visualize the difference. Even with 800 more resistance, a total of 1250 collision resistance, you will still be knocked up 43% of the time. I've also created you here the formula where you can enter your values and it tells you the chance of being hit by a tornado. In the end, it's up to you whether you want to build collision resistance or not. But remember that you will always be sacrificing something else. Maybe you could invest heavily into debuff duration, more damage or other stats. Not going for collision resistance will give you way more build flexibility. Yes, collision resistance helps also against pulls and pushes and whatsoever. But if I were still a tank going into tier 2, I would 100% ignore collision resistance at all. In the end, it's your choice. And if you think it's worth it, go for it. But please let me know what your plans are. That's everything you need to know about resistance and chance. These are the crucial factors to consider when building your setup for tier 2. I hope this helps with your theory crafting for tier 2. By the way, I have plenty more videos like this, so if you want to learn something, go check them out. If you enjoy my content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, I'll see ya in the next one.